Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to use Claude projects like a beast. And what I mean by that is how to use this very specific, very important feature of Claude and other services to your best advantage in the most optimal way to be able to do the most work the most efficiently as possible. And why are we talking about Claude projects? I don't hear a lot of people like really wax poetic about it, but I think projects in a chat AI interface are one of the bigger breakthroughs that they made in terms of features. The reason being is because chat windows are extremely limited as far as their memory. They get saturated very quickly, even before you reach your token limits. Claude's trying to do things to sort of compress automatically and help you to be able to chat longer. But the problem still remains that AI just starts to get confused, hallucinate, and kind of lose track of what you've been working on if you go too long on those chat windows. So the goal of this is to create a system using projects that will help you to be able to employ AI in the service of like more long-term goals. So in my case, like building a piece of software would be a great example of this, or building a very like complex automation. But I'm sure there's many use cases for this. The point is I would never be able to do all of that in one Claude session, and I've tried, and it gets very messy and ugly. So the point of this is to kind of create some like linearity between different chats that you have so that you can accomplish larger goals with Claude playing more of an active role. So the way I see a lot of people use AI, it's like much more as like a co-pilot or like an intern. It does very small, little modest tasks for you. It doesn't need to know the large term goal. But the way I like to use Claude and other chat interfaces is more like a project manager or like a mid-level manager, which I think gives it a lot more power to kind of make decisions and do more for you. And you're sort of like the VP or the CEO who's kind of delegating to Claude to sort of move the projects along, but you're not doing as much active work, like hands-on keyboard work. So that's how I like to use AI. I think people are kind of resistant to that, but for me, it's made all the difference. So today I'm going to show you how to set up kind of like a meta project creator that whenever you start a new project, you can basically just use this project, to converse a bit about what you're trying to accomplish, give it a pretty good idea of like your goals, the systems you're going to be using, etc. And then it will actually create a comprehensive Claude project for you that you can then use to run that entire project. And there's a few very specific things that are important to getting this right. It might seem simple, but there's a way that I've sort of bypassed some limitations of Claude that I think are very powerful. So stick around and I'll show you those. But yeah, essentially what this project creator is for is to help you get very clear on what you're doing, but also to kind of create like a framework for how you should think about these projects. So the core things it's going to need are what you're trying to accomplish, the systems that you're using to build it, the systems that it will need to access, which I highly recommend giving it as much direct access as you can to your systems, but also how it can update itself. I think that's the most important thing that I've actually I brought it to Anthropic's attention that I feel like this feature is a no-brainer to build into Claude that would make it so much more powerful. Maybe it already exists and I just don't know how to use it. I think it actually does, but the feature is a project tracker. It needs a way to access some kind of like living document, edit that document with all the progress and all the learnings it's been making throughout your project journey, so that you can then have it reference that document at the beginning of every session and then update that document at the end of every session. And that does two things. That makes Claude smarter over time. So there might be like little kinks in your workflow that you had to like work with Claude to iron out, like don't do this, do this. It can then note those things on your project tracker. It also is going to say, okay, we have like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 of this project. Where are we in the project? Okay, we've accomplished like one items 1A through 1F today, and it will update that. And then next time you open a chat window, which you can just start from scratch, open a fresh chat window within your project, it will know exactly where you are. It'll know some of the hiccups that happened. It'll know some of the learnings, and then it'll know exactly where to start the next day. And this just saves me so much time because I'm spending so much time in Claude. Having the ability for it to just know exactly where to jump in is critical for me. And the reason I said Anthropic hasn't really built this yet is because I do believe Claude has the ability to edit its own project files. If you've ever tried to like load project files into Claude, I think it can edit those. I've had it, I think, successfully do it before. The problem is it doesn't know that it can, and it doesn't think that it can. So in those instances, I had to remind it like 3 times, hey, I think you can edit your project files. Not totally sure if it can or it can't, but the point is it doesn't think it can, so it doesn't matter. So the better way to create a project file is in an external repository. If you're building in GitHub, GitHub's a great place to do that. Just have it create a project tracker document in GitHub. It's going to then be able to update that anytime it wants. If you're not working in GitHub, say you're building like an N8N automation or something else, you can actually have it work in Airtable. Airtable is a great MCP integration that you can add to Claude with a few clicks. So GitHub's a little more labor intensive. I'll go into that MCP integration in like another video, but the point is get it some way to edit an external document. It could be a Google Doc, doesn't matter. Yeah, that's the kind of key point of this, but I'll get into some like the other things I do as well. So if we are looking at this project creator project that I've set up here, I have one that's more specific to me, my business, the systems I use. I encourage you to create one of your own, but this is more of like a generic one that could be used by anyone. That could be a great place for you to get started. So I will share this in the description. I'll share the entire project instructions, and then all you have to do when you create your project is just add this to the project instructions, copy paste, and it will know exactly what to do. So let's just start with something simple like let's get started. So in this case, I don't really have a specific project in mind, but I've been using this for all kinds of projects when I'm building like custom software for clients. This is how I discovered this. This is extremely powerful for that because I can actually have a conversation with a customer on the phone, and I have Fireflies taking notes. Then I can have Claude access that transcript directly, pull all the key requirements, and then it already has this project creator. So I just literally say, create a project around this project. And essentially it will create all these files I'm about to show you. And then the Claude project basically runs the project from there. It is the project manager and I'm just the supervisor. So yeah, let's build something great. What would you like to build? Let's just do one of the options. It said a dashboard to track sales. Let's do that because that's an area that I actually have some knowledge of. All right, discovery phase. So the way that I've set this project up is it's going to ask you questions. Again, I prefer to have it know more about me from the get-go so that I don't have to do a lot of back and forth like this. But hey, this is a great way to do it too. Have Claude interview you. Let's see, who are the users? What problems are we solving? Let's just say individual rep performance. And it's for sales managers. And it needs all of those integrations. Multi-tenant. So there might be just a little bit of back and forth here, but and I always recommend just have thinking mode on Claude. The results of what you get are honestly spectacular at this point. Opus 4.5 is cheaper than Opus 4, and it's about as powerful and just night and day from any other model in my opinion. Let's see, rep performance metrics. Yep, it's going to need all of that. Integration priority. Let's just say yes, V1 looks good. I actually structure projects this way all the time, where I will create like a V1 proof of concept. And that's like Claude knows like the first thing we need to get done. And then there's like usually like an expanded scope that's like a V2. So you always want to know like where we're going immediately and then where we're going long term. All right, so that was literally all it needed in this particular case. That might differ from project to project, but now it knows what it needs to do is create project files for you. And this is basically going to be the reference documents for Claude for this project. So let's just wait a minute for these to finish up. Okay, so that took about 5 to 10 minutes. So you just let it cook for a little while. But essentially what we have here is a comprehensive set of project documentation. Let's look at some of these. Project instructions. This is going to be the core instructions that we paste into our Claude project. So this will be like its starting point. The rest of it is mostly going to be reference documentation. And the great thing about doing this in Claude is that it's going to reference that documentation throughout its project instructions, so that basically Claude will know, hey, if I come across this problem, I should look at X document. Project overview. This is what we're building, the problem, the solution, full context on this entire project. So you never have to remind it what you're doing. Technical architecture. It's making a lot of assumptions here because we didn't give it a ton of information. It's also probably going to default to the things that I've been working on in my specific stack, which right now is Next.js hosted on Vercel, Supabase, GitHub. That's a great stack for Claude because it can connect to all those tools. Database schema. This is very important. This is if you're building an application, it's all going to sit on top of a database. And so I use Supabase for that, but essentially this is day one. Something that Claude's going to be able to do is just jump into Supabase and build out your entire schema. API integrations, all the external services we're going to need to connect to make this sales dashboard work. It's already done a bunch of legwork on like how to access those APIs, which is great. UI specifications. Claude is amazing at building UIs. I don't know how, but it's just awesome. Build phases. So this is going to influence the project tracker that we're going to create in GitHub. And then debugging guide. So for non-coders like myself, debugging is a process of talking to Claude or talking to some kind of chat interface. So I've given a lot of special instructions on how to work with somebody who doesn't code so that you can debug using natural language, which is surprisingly easy. So that's what we're working with. And then what we're going to do is click download all. We are going to get those as a zip file. And then I'm going to try to find that zip file. You're going to unzip it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually create a new project. And we'll just call this sales dashboard project. And once we've created that, the first thing we're going to do is add project instructions. Where did I put my project instructions? I'm going to go back to my Claude project. I'm going to find those project instructions. I'm going to copy them. And then I'm going to go back to my sales dashboard. In my sales dashboard project, I'm just going to copy and paste those instructions here. And then I'm literally just going to drag and drop all those files that I just downloaded into my project files. And that's it. So the first thing when you activate a project like this, I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want to start this project and I don't want to clutter up my spaces with additional noise. But basically the first thing it would do if I said, just let's begin, is it will go ahead and create that project tracker as well as the entire GitHub repo to kick off my software build. From there, let's see, what is the next thing it would do? From there, it will actually check out our project build phases, and it will kind of prioritize what we need to get started with. So the way I like to start projects is typically just spend the first little chunk, building the foundation. Usually, like if I'm building software, it's going to be creating a Git repo. If I'm working in N8N, it's going to be creating a JSON file or creating an Airtable base to track the project. Whatever it is, there's always going to be some like infrastructure foundation. Once you have that set up, though, it's like pretty smooth sailing to just work exclusively in this project. And yeah, maybe you're like observing other UIs as well, but like where you're mostly putting in information and doing your work is actually going to be in Claude, thanks to this project format where it's completely up to date at all times on what you've built, where you are in your project, and it can literally track, manage, and do your work for you, which is just mind-blowing that we're already here. But yeah, this is, in my opinion, the best way to use Claude or a chat interface to your advantage, not as a co-pilot where you're constantly copy-pasting back and forth, but actually as a project manager who you're just kind of delegating work to, and you're just kind of like, steering them in the right direction as they actually do most of the building. So yeah, that's all for today. Just wanted to show you that quick tidbit. Hope this is helpful and enjoyable. Feel free to download that project instruction file that I include here in the description. But other than that, all done for today. So I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.